Long ago, in the golden land of Umara, there lived a king named Adewale. His palace stood tall with shining walls of red clay, decorated with carvings that told the history of the land. People from near and far came to trade in Umara's market, for it was known as a kingdom of peace and plenty. Yet behind the smiles and songs of the people, whispers of greed and betrayal began to flow like hidden streams under the soil. King Adewale had ruled wisely for many years, but as he grew older, doubts troubled his heart. He wondered if his chiefs truly served him or if they only bowed because of his crown. He wondered if his own sons loved him or simply loved the throne he sat upon. The fear of false loyalty kept him awake many nights. At last, he decided to put his kingdom to the test. One evening, while the sun melted into the horizon, King Adewale called his most trusted servant, Bobaton. Bobaton was an old man with grey hair and steady eyes that had seen many seasons. The king whispered his plan. He would pretend to be weak and sick, leaving the kingdom in the hands of his chiefs and sons. In this way, he would see their true hearts. Bobaton bowed low and promised to keep the secret safe. The very next morning, word spread through the palace that the king had fallen terribly ill. His sons rushed to his chambers, the chiefs gathered in fear, and the people outside the palace cried in sorrow. Yet, as days turned into weeks, hidden desires began to rise. The eldest son, Colonel, was strong but proud. Standing beside his father's bed, he whispered to his younger brother, "Why wait? The kingdom needs a ruler. Father will not rise again. Soon, the crown must sit upon my head." His eyes shone not with love but with hunger for power. The second son, Sei, was quiet but cunning. Though he spoke words of care, his thoughts were dark. "Let Connor fight for the throne," he told himself. "When he is blinded by pride, I shall take the crown with my own hands." Only the youngest, Dora, wept genuinely at his father's bedside, praying each night that the king would live. The chiefs too began to show their colors. Chief Balagan, who once praised the king in council, now gathered men secretly, preparing to seize lands for himself. Chief Adewale, keeper of the treasury, slowly opened the palace stores, taking gold piece by piece for his own family. Only one man, Chief Ajoni, remained faithful. He visited the palace daily, offering comfort to Bobaton and young Dora, reminding them that the kingdom's peace was worth more than silver or gold. But the king, still lying sick upon his bed, listened quietly from behind half-closed eyes. Every word, every act of betrayal, fell like stones upon his heart. Without the king's strong hand, the kingdom grew restless. The chiefs demanded more taxes, and the marketplace lost its joy. Farmers cried that their harvests were stolen, and travelers avoided Umara's gates. Connor and Sei argued openly in the palace courtyard, each boasting that he would soon be king. Only Dora went among the people, listening to their struggles and sharing his own food with them. The people began to whisper, "When the king is gone, who will save us? Will his sons fight until the kingdom burns?" Fear spread like smoke from a hidden fire. One night, Bobaton found the young Prince Dora praying alone beneath the moonlight. "My son," the old servant said gently, "your brothers plot for power, the chiefs steal from the people, and even the palace walls have ears filled with greed. But the king is not truly sick. He watches, he listens, and he waits for the truth to rise." Dora's eyes widened in shock. Why would he hide such a thing? Bobaton sighed. "Because true loyalty shines only when gold and crowns are taken away. Remember this, Dora, the heart of a servant is seen in secret." Dora swore he would remain faithful, no matter what came. Soon, greed burst forth like a storm. Connor gathered warriors, declaring himself the next ruler. Sei, not to be outdone, secretly promised the chiefs riches if they would support his claim. In the palace, voices shouted, and in the marketplace, fear grew. The kingdom of Umara, once full of songs, now trembled with the sound of anger and division. But still, King Adewale lay in his bed, silent as stone. He wanted to see who would protect his kingdom not for power, but for love. Only Dora and Chief Ajoni stood firm, calming the people, guarding the palace, and praying for peace. One bright morning, when all believed the king was at the edge of death, a sudden trumpet call shook the palace. The doors of the king's chamber opened, and there stood King Adewale, tall and strong, dressed in his royal agbada. His eyes were fierce, and his voice thundered, "Enough!" The chiefs trembled. The sons froze. The people outside rushed to the palace gates, astonished to see their king alive and powerful. With every step he took, shame fell upon the greedy, and hope rose within the faithful. King Adewale summoned his sons and chiefs to the great hall. He looked at Connor and said first, "You, who were born to protect this land, turned against your own people. You desired power more than peace. What crown can rest upon heads filled with greed?" Their faces fell in shame, their voices silent before their father's anger. He turned to the chiefs. "You who swore oaths to guard the kingdom instead filled your pockets with gold. But your names will now be written in the dust, not in honor." Finally, the king's gaze softened as he looked upon Dora and Chief Ajoni. "And you, who showed kindness and loyalty even in the shadows, shall be lifted high." Before the gathered people, King Adewale placed his hand upon Dora's shoulder. "This son, though the youngest, has shown the heart of a true king. He cared for his father, guarded the people, and stood firm when all others wavered. He shall be my heir, for he has passed the test of loyalty." The crowd cheered, their voices rising like a river of joy. As for the others, Connor and Say were sent to rule small villages, learning humility far from the palace. The greedy chiefs were stripped of their power, and Chief Ajoni was made head of the council. Peace slowly returned to Umara, and the kingdom learned that loyalty is not proven by words in the sunlight, but by actions in the darkness. Moral lesson: true loyalty is not shown when the path is easy, but when the road is dark and full of temptations. Greed may promise crowns and gold, but only a faithful heart can build a kingdom that lasts.